Welcome to our usual hovers. I'm Meeka Nomicon, and today you can play for the game It Paints Me, where every night we awaken in our studio to try and paint our masterpiece. If only our muse would return to us. Every night I find myself alone in the studio, curtains drawn tight, my neat row of paints, palette and brushes in the same place on the drawer by the easel. The canvas upon it sits, as always, unfinished, Maria's half-painted face frozen in empty song. It's late out, as it always is when I awaken here. Marie is nowhere to be found. She must still be at the theatre. Even when the curtains fall and the stage lights dim, the night is forever young to its star sopranos. I would always wait outside her dressing room, roses in hand, scores of other bright-eyed admirers spilling through the halls, though she alone was mine, and I was hers. It's cold, bitterly cold tonight, but still I draw the curtains and open the windows wide. There's a stench in the room, deep and damp and sickly sweet, that I can't ever seem to be rid of. Oh, well I was going to ask if it was a corpse smell, but I don't think they smell sickly sweet. Besides that, the fumes from the linseed oil make my head spin. Like every night, I measure out my paints, arranging the small dabs of colour on my palette from lightest to darkest, titanium white and cadmium yellow, to corpse brown and lamp black. I wet my brush with oil and gently start mixing the pigments. It feels just a little bit like magic, watching them swirl and mix, forming new colours from old. Oh, what do we want to start with? I mean, it's probably better to start with the face, right? I go from lightest colours to darkest. And also, I don't want to have to paint her hair and then mess up the face and have to do it all over again. We'll paint her face first. I mix a tone as pale as her skin and apply it with a generous dab of oil to the me on my canvas. But the paint doesn't blend. The colour on her cheek stands out like a garish smear. I sigh and scrape it off with a palette knife and mix a deep blend of black and red for the background instead. I must have painted and repainted the same background countless times. To say it's difficult to paint by lamplight, my muse nowhere in sight, is an understatement, of course, but lately these nightly hours are the only time I find myself able to lift my brush. I stop every few strokes. Spirits, it hurts. I had joked the pain that forced me away from the tailor shop meant I could finally return to my paintings, at the very least. I was never any good at humour. Marie had sensed my worries, consoled me, sweetly, in her voice that could charm stone to life. Oh, Sam, don't worry. I have roles lined up for months. Go ahead and paint. We can still live comfortably. It hurt. A small part of it did, beyond the physical, beyond the ailments, to seek her permission, to be enabled to care for my darling, the way I had when we were younger, brimming with talent but crushingly unknown. Well, she had been. I was, and still am, nothing. But perhaps, finally, it would now be my turn to bring my vision to the world. If only it didn't hurt so damn much. Time passes, and I still don't manage more than a few strokes, a small patch of dark over an already wet canvas. Or perhaps, time hasn't passed at all. The broken clock on the wall would suggest as much. Perhaps the seconds have lain still, the world outside unchanging, and I, the only thing that moves. Have I moved? Is repeating the same brushstrokes like a clockwork doll movement? I shiver and sigh. Perhaps sleep would be better endeavour. Perhaps the next night will meet more success. I stand, setting aside my paints and palette, and slowly move to shut the windows. I stop. There, out in the front garden, barely lit by a street lamp, stands a figure that can only be Marie. Oh, so she is alive. I was half expecting her to turn out to be dead or something. She bids goodbye to another figure, tall and broad-shouldered, and then she laughs. A beautiful laugh, a heartfelt laugh, and embraces him before he makes his reluctant exit to the carriage stopped by the gate. For a moment, I don't know what to think. A friend? A co-star? Perhaps that amiable tenor she mentioned every now and then? I didn't see his face, but Marie's social circle had always eclipsed my own. It must be. But why would he come to our home? I mean, maybe we should think about it reasonably. Maybe he was just seeing her home safely. I mean, it is very late at night. Why would she laugh that way? In the garden, in the midst of walking to the front door, humming to herself, Marie suddenly looks up. For a moment, her eyes go wide, and she blinks as if shaking herself from a daze. I instinctively step back from the windows. Wait, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe Marie never was the person that's dead. Maybe I'm dead. Maybe I've been dead this entire time. That would explain why we can only repaint what we've already painted, right? Because we can't actually make any noticeable changes to the canvas. And that would explain why she's shocked at seeing us in the window. I think I figured it out. Perhaps it's guilt that makes me do so. Marie is finally home. And oh, I've missed her so. How could the first thing I think upon seeing my darling be the worst thoughts my mind could conjure? For the first time in many, many nights, I feel just well enough to leave the studio. I'll prepare Marie a pot of her favourite chamomile tea. I'll listen as she tells me of the nights, the theatre, the thousand small anecdotes she never runs out of, and maybe, just maybe, ask her again to sit for a portrait for me, like she used to. The house feels larger than it used to. Perhaps I was shut in the studio too long. Still, how could I so quickly become a stranger to my own home? The memories are fuzzy. The years blur together like a wash of oil colours. My mother and I, carrying our sparse luggage, stepping inside for the first time. My stepfather laughing, his elbows on the breakfast table, chatting over something he'd read in the paper. Then, silent hallways and empty rooms. And then, myself, welcoming my new bride to these solitary halls, hanging our newly taken portraits above the mantel. The walls are barren now. I feel the walls in the dark, leaving sticky trails of paint behind, tracing the places where I used to hang. Well, it'd be all our paintings, wouldn't it? Maybe paintings of Marie that we used to do? The paintings I'd framed, the seaside landscape I'd painted on our honeymoon, the watercolour sketch of Marie that could hope to capture the sheen of her hair, the still life of the roses in the cracked vase. Oh, how my darling loves roses. Gone. Cleared away. The naked walls stare blankly at me. I definitely think we're dead. I mean, that would also explain why the paintings are gone, right? If it just hurt Marie too much to keep looking at our work. Confused, but with nowhere else to go, I continue through the house. This place does look abandoned. As I walk, I pass the furniture my stepfather left me, the shelves and tables that always seemed so large and grand as a boy, now missing or mantled in thick white linen. They remind me of corpses on a hospital table, lying dead still, covered in sheets. Marie! I try to call out, but phlegm blocks my throat. I cough, long and drawn and wet, and then once more attempt to voice her name. Marie! It slicks off my tongue like a serpent uncoiling. I had always loved her name, so tender and sweet, free of harsh syllables. Marie! It was a name like an impressionist blur I painted in soft strokes with a fine oil brush. It was the greatest joy in the world to join my name to hers. Silence fills the halls, a long drawn-out silence, a howled breath. Finally, my darling answers. Sam! Is this a dream? I cough again, another long wet trail dripping from my lips. Oh, that's definitely gonna be blood, right? Is it a good dream, darling? I don't know. It feels like a nightmare. An awful, wretched nightmare. Is that just us in general, or is it the state of us? I limp towards the sound of her voice, so musical, so lovely, even at the brink of tears. Don't cry, darling, I want to say, but thick, syrupy liquid fills my throat. No matter what troubles you, I am here. She stands at the edge of the staircase, shaking, a candlestick in hand. The steps are sticky and wet. I inch carefully, practically at a crawl, not to slip. My darling lifts the candle as I approach. In the dark of the house, its flickering flame almost blinds me. I don't see the expression on her face as she screams. Come on, show us. Marie, where are you, my darling? Every word feels like a dagger puncturing my throat. I limp down each hall, leaving a trail of steps that feel damp and heavy, slick and wet. I try the door to our bedroom. No, Marie's bedroom. I had started sleeping in the spare one, where my coughing fits would wake her in the night. It was cold, so cold, alone, but my darling needed her rest. The knob is slick and hard to twist, my hand slipping on the brass. Finally, I managed to push the door open. Though it's completely dark when I peer inside, I know it is empty. No warmth, no flesh, no sound of sweet breath within. I continue down the hall. I trudge my steps heavy and wet, trying not to slip over the thick, slick surface. Marie, what's wrong? Darling, please come out. I don't understand. We seem to be unintentionally haunting our dead widow. Oh, no, she's my alive widow. The dining room is empty, truly empty. The shelves where the china and silverware were once neatly stacked now gape, hollow. The walnut table is covered in a thick white sheet, the matching set of chairs removed. I rest against the blackened table. My hand leaves a ruddy smear against the sheet. It must be more paint, though it's hard to make out in the dark. I'd needed spectacles for quite some time, but Marie never liked the bookish type. I continue on through the familiar yet unfamiliar house, my steps strained and slow, my breath short, sticky, wet. Marie, where are you? Oh, Marie, it hurts. Won't you come to me? I hear the front door slam shut. It must be freezing cold. Why has she gone to the garden? I tread to the sound of the new urgency, uncaring of the sticky wet floors, forgetting for just a moment the pain that snaps and burns through my flesh. I reach for the oily, damp knob. Oh, there you are. Don't, Sam, please. Her voice rings from behind the door. I don't understand, darling. Have I done something to upset you? Her sobs echo loudly. I never thought an ugly sound would come from my darling's lip. But her words. I love you, Sam. I always will. But I can't bear to see you like this. Please, I beg of you, return to where you came. You can't be here. I've moved on now.
What? Return where? Dearest, you aren't making sense. Moved on? I'm your husband, Marie. What on earth is there to move on from?
Please remember, Sam. You were ill. You were ill for a long, long time, and you never recovered.
I know that I'm unwell, Marie, but you said we would still... Are you leaving me? Because I can't care for you anymore. Is that why?
You left me. You're dead, Sam.
I called it.
You've been dead for more than a year.
If this is a joke, darling, it's a cruel one. Do you want me dead? Is that it? Am I better off dead to you?
My darling does nothing but sob behind the door. How quickly I regret my words. Oh, if only I could see her face, look into her eyes, reassure her and see that she loves me still. I twist the knob with slick, oily hands. No! Don't come out, please! On the other end, with a sharp gasp, my darling grasps the knob closed, pushing the weight of her small frame against the weathered wood. Don't come out! Do you reckon we're gonna, if we force the door, do you reckon we're gonna accidentally scare her to death? That makes me a bad husband, right? But I'm tempted. Force the door.
No, not until you tell me what's going on. Are you leaving me, darling? After everything? I need you. I need you.
My darling utters a sharp cry as the hinges groan against the frame, loosening her grip as she stumbles back onto the cobblestone path. I instantly forget her sharp words as I limp towards her side.
Marie, are you alright? I'm so sorry.
Stop it! Sam! I'll keep you alive. Every time I sing, I'll sing for you. I'll keep you in my song, in my art.
Wait, do you reckon that's why we're still here? Because Marie's songs are anchoring us to this reality? In which case, you're kind of bringing the haunting on yourself. Oh, but it hurts. Her shrill voice grates against my ooze spilling forth from my ears. It hurts. It hurts. My head rings. My chest is a hollow cavity, slippery and wet, flowing with hot, sickly fluid. I cough and spew more syrupy, warm liquid from my lips. Your art. It was always about you. Your fame. Your voice. Your needs, your wants, your desires. You were a work of art, of course. But did you ever think about me? Did you ever think about poor Sam, dying alone in a cold white room? Poor Sam, who couldn't even hold a brush in his hands at the end. Poor Sam, left to rot into nothing. A year was all it took to forget me. I am shaking her, leaving smears of dark, muddy paint over her pale shoulders. I feel like we're being a little bit unfair to her. I mean, she's the one that said she would support us when we started getting sick, right? The next moment, she breaks from me, running blindly into the street. The carriage doesn't stop for her. Of course it doesn't. My dearest is a wisp of dark curls, a black gown billowing in the night like a shade. Well, I was right about something. I suppose I did traumatize her to death. She should be light as a breath, soft as mist. But the song that comes is the scream of her breaking bones, her ripping flesh, the breath that leaves her lungs. Ah, but every sound my darling makes is beautiful. Oh, I do believe our darling's a little bit mangled. Also, I don't think she's going to be very happy with us in the afterlife. can you haunt a ghost? I scoop her mass of flesh and deep crimson hair in my arms. Her blood pools around me, syrupy and dark, a colour so deep no artist's pigment could hope to capture. The purest scarlet or vermilion red, a dull stain in comparison. It is not Sam that I see staring back in the deep pool of our blood. Oh, damn! Did your jaw get ripped off? My darling is a lovely creature, even broken. I gently carry her up the steps, one slick, damp, crooked step at a time, setting her mass of jutted bone, of viscera and flesh on the velvet seat in my studio. The fabric soaks in deep, so very deep. It's dark, as it is every night. I leave the lamps unlit, the windows shut tight. How strange the stench of linseed oil ever bothered me. After all, I no longer breathe. My darling sits still, ever so still, not a breath escaping her broken flesh. What a lovely model. Oh, what a wonderful thing. You know what? My prediction over the start of the game is clearly correct. I was just a little bit premature. She's dead and we're currently painting her. All the more beautiful, now that it surely hurts to sing. Oh, it is agony to hold a brush. It always is. But I can bear it. Sweet, that's us, right? Oh, damn, we really did get brutalized by our illness, huh? Well, at least we can laugh about it. After all, who can truly create without pain? Oh, it's stunning! It's clearly a masterpiece. I feel like I really captured her essence. Ending 1. Muse. So I'm guessing then the photographs would be of the same things, right? The walls are laid bare. The pictures that hung on the pale wallpaper are gone. Blurry grey photographs of my parents, myself as a boy, and Marie. Oh, so many pictures of Marie, each displayed in a filigree frame. Gone. The pale wallpaper stands bare, stripped to its bone. Well, as stunning as she looked all, mangled, I will be a good husband and let her go. I let go of the door, my hand slicking off its oily surface. Forgive me, Marie. I can see you don't wish to speak to me right now. But whenever you do, whenever this is about, I'll be waiting in the studio. I leave the door. I leave my darling alone, sobbing in the garden. It's dark, so very dark, but dawn will soon paint that dim black sky. I retrace my slick, wet footsteps through the hall, up the staircase, one trudging damp step at a time. Spirits, it hurts. It burns. I feel no breath in my lungs. My chest could be a hollow cavity, slippery and wet, spilling with hot, sickly fluid. It hurts. Oh, it hurts! I stagger into a tall, sheet-covered object, the linen sliding off with a gasp of my clumsy, slick fingers. What's the reckon? We've just found ourselves a long mirror. It's Marie's floor-length mirror. No. Oh no! No, 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 no! Oh, so the one with the melted flesh was us. I mean, the good news is we still do have our organs. Certainly is, there's nothing really protecting them anymore. It's a good job we don't need to use them. I'm so beautiful. The mirror can't even handle me. I would say that'd be 7 years bad luck, but let's face it, I'm already dead.
I'm in the studio, a dark, dim studio, as empty as it is every night. The curtains are shut, the lamps are unlit. My palette is a mess of murky colors, rust reds, corpse browns, a musky, sickly, sweetly rotting stench fills the room. I don't know why the smell of linseed oil ever bothered me. After all, I no longer breathe. The handle of the door turns behind me. Slowly, it creaks open, and a figure steps inside. It's me. He limps more than he steps in crooked motions against the floor, dragging his body along like a wet, wide brush as swaves of red fall at his feet. I watch him pull himself before the canvas. Samuel! He speaks in my mother's voice, a pitched cry of command and dependency, derision and affection, pride and disappointment. Give up your suffering. Give up this. Come into the earth with me. My hands are too slick to hold my brush. I stab it into my flesh and fix it between my bones, then dip the bristles into his blood. Sammy! He speaks in my stepfather's voice, wistful, choking back tears, the same cadence of his goodbye as he hugged me against his uniform, the dog tags cold around his neck. Don't suffer anymore, Sam. Forget your pain. You are nothing already. Come into the void with us. My brush is drying. I plunge it into his chest, wet it with his oily breath. Sam! He speaks with my voice, hoarse and raspy and tired, so very, very tired. This won't make you worthy of love. Not the world's, not Marie's, not your friends or peers or critics. Come back to our grave. End our suffering. You know, I don't do this for love. I clean my brush with a paint thinner, knocking over the jar as it spills across the drawer and onto the wet, soaked floor. I dry the bristles on my worn, rotting shirt, then soak it in the thick, white mucus of his tears. My words are only partially true, just as his words are not fully wrong. Neither my rotting corpse nor the memory of what once was Sam will gain a thing from this toil. I paint the hours away, or perhaps take no time at all. The clock on the wall never turns its hands, suggesting that the world lies still. The seconds never pass, and I am the only thing that moves within it. It hurts. Oh, it hurts. Heavy, soupy tears flood my vision, fill my throat, my chest, choking me. Every movement of my hands leaves cracks in what's left of my brittle bones. He stares at me all the while, silent, still like a mirror. If I loved him, I would stop. I would crawl into my grave like he wishes. But I love this more than I love myself. I birth him from within me. As I create, so too am I born. And he and I are beautiful. Well, we finally achieved our final last portrait, I suppose. I am still curious though if partially the reason why we're still trapped here is because of Miri's song. Like, she can't let us go, so we're now lingering around. Ending 2. Self-portrait. So do you reckon in ending 1 then, we both get trapped haunting the house? Because I feel like Marie wouldn't leave anytime soon, considering she died so dramatically. If you enjoyed that playthrough, I'd really appreciate you to like this video and subscribe to this channel. But other than that, it was a spooky day, and I'll catch you next time, guys.